there's someone that we like who's sitting on the curvy couch with us, Ivanka Trump, special guest, special advisor to the president and daughter of the president of the United States. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I always have fun joining you, so thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You've had quite a busy schedule. You've been in Japan.
Yes.
You were in California with Tucker and Mnuchin at the Reagan Library, Pennsylvania, Maine meeting with Susan Collins. You're going to New Jersey later today. You have a very busy schedule talking about tax reform and trying to get all of our legislators on board with you. Why is this such an important issue for you?
And I've been spending a tremendous amount of time meeting with members of Congress on the Hill. So
hosting dinners at your house?
Hosting dinners. And, you know, tax reform is a critical component of our plan to invigorate the economy. I think we've already seen the president's agenda bearing fruit in the form of growth. You see the stock markets, what's happening. And this is largely due to an aggressive deregulation platform. So I think deregulation has been enormously beneficial. Also job training and just a renewed focus on championing business here in America. So we've seen that already play out in recent months, but this deregulation philosophy coupled with tax reform is going to have an enormous impact that we think conservatively will lead to sustained GDP growth of 3%, but more aggressively 4 and 5%.
Last time Congress tried to get part of your father's agenda done with doing something about the Affordable Care Act, they dropped the ball. This time, do the Republicans seem to be on the same page? Is there unity within the Republican caucus that they want to get taxes done for sure this time and will?
If you look at the framework, if you look at the outline and how the House and the Senate work together to establish principles with the president and executing on the president's vision, which is really twofold. How do we enable American businesses to be competitive in a global landscape and to truly thrive? And we're doing that through aggressive tax cuts for corporations and for small businesses. For small businesses, it's the lowest tax rate since 1931. So it's going to be an incredible boon to small businesses and to our larger employers as well. The second prong is to ensure that this offers middle-income families real relief. We're doing that through tax cuts. We're also doing that through keeping really important policies around the child tax credit. We're dramatically expanding that, and that's very beneficial to families, especially.
What does that mean? How much does that mean for a family who's watching right now?
So at least $1,600, the first $1,100 of which under the Senate plan is refundable. The Senate actually brought it up to $1,650, and I'm optimistic it only gets enhanced from here on out as they go to conference and potentially through amendment. So that's an enormous expansion of a credit that's incredibly valuable to parents at a time when they need more money in their pockets when they have young children. We're also keeping the child and dependent care tax credit, which is great, particularly for working parents and disproportionately working mothers who need child care, and the cost of child care is enormous in this country. On average, 30% of family income goes to child care, which is unsustainable. So keeping that credit, keeping the adoption credit, doubling the standard deduction will provide enormous relief for so many families.
Right.
So taking that to $24,000 and $12,000 for an individual. So the purpose of tax reform is to provide middle-income tax relief and to enable our businesses to grow and our economy to grow, and we think this is going to happen.
Senator Murkowski, Senator Collins have been problems in the past, along with Senator John McCain. A different thing with health care. I noticed you visited Maine.
Yeah.
What are their objections? When they sit down with you, what are they telling you, and what do you bring back to the White House?
Well, this is why I'm so optimistic, because when I was in Maine with Senator Collins, she couldn't have been more hospitable, more warm, and more excited about the opportunity to reform our tax code, to create simplification that really democratizes.
They have a problem with the state, though. The state tax in the states that we live in, New York, New Jersey, as well as in California, even have some Republicans upset by that. Do you feel there's some play there?
Well, I think that House Ways and Means really solves that problem in a very collaborative way in allowing property taxes to be deducted. So I think in talking with Senator Collins, and you know the Senate is still not there and they're working on the details of the SALT issue together, but in talking with Senator Collins about this, she has the same objectives as the president does. So that is a good start. And you know, she wants to create growth. She wants to create prosperity. She recognizes that cutting cutting corporate taxes is going to give employers the impetus to hire more workers and is going to create wage growth, which this country desperately needs and has not had in a very long period of time. You're just starting to see the first uptick in wages in the last several months, but we think we can do far, far better.
Yeah. We understand that it sounds like on Wednesday your father's going to have an address from the White House where he talks about all the business deals and any sort of deals we might have with South Korea,
yeah,
Japan, and whatnot. That's coming up on Wednesday. You probably can't tell us any of that stuff.
No.
Okay.
But it will be very interesting, so I suggest that you watch.
It will be. And as Ainsley pointed out, you were in Japan,
yes,
with your father early part of the trip. Have you been struck by the coverage, the media coverage, internationally as opposed to here? Because this morning we ran a picture from a New York Times photographer who, it looks like he selected that picture because it makes your dad look awkward.
So I was in Japan actually prior to his visit. Prime Minister Abe had invited me to speak at a conference intended to engage women in the workplace, and he is rolling out some incredible policies to support women in the workforce. So he asked me to speak at this conference. I actually left before my father arrived he wanted me to focus on tax reform, which was definitely time well spent. But I will tell you, the enthusiasm, the energy, the excitement about this presidency and this president in Asia was unbelievable. The reception that I received just in anticipation of his arrival was truly remarkable everywhere we went, and it was very supportive and very encouraging, and I think we've continued to see that wherever the presidents travel. Tremendous respect for the office of the presidency, and real palpable excitement. So it's been a very, very successful trip for him.
In China especially, he was the pomp and circumstances was unbelievable, and they say, well, they did a profile on the president, and they said they're playing to his ego. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think that's how the American president should be received. I think that all of the leadership across Asia showed tremendous respect to the President of the United States of America, and I think that's something that is a positive. So I find it very difficult to find a negative. I think as a country, we feel that way about leadership and about that office, the highest office in the land. And it's nice to see that reflected in the respect shown to this president by foreign leaders. And so I thought it was an unbelievably monumental trip, and really it accomplished the goals of increasing American prosperity, building upon really sound foundational relationships that are going to serve to benefit the people of this country. We need to be working with leadership across the world.
Like you're taking the high road, because we saw that picture. We ran the video.
Yeah.
Can't even, your dad is smiling, talking to everyone, crossing his arms, and then they snapped that one picture. He was making an awkward face, and that's the picture they ran with.
Yeah, we've all been victims of that one. Yeah. I know that trick.
No,
you know?
not me. I don't know what you're talking about.
You look good all the time.
That's right.
Is it a grimace right prior to the smile?
Should we talk about one thing is great? The video of your daughter speaking Mandarin, saying Mandarin, that has to be the hit of the trip.
Donald Trump's secret weapon, Arabella.
It was so sweet, but my favorite moment was watching her. I showed her the footage of her grandfather showing President Xi the video of her singing, and she was so proud that he was proud of her and that President Xi had thought she had done a good job. She was blushing. She had me show it to her over and over again. She worked very hard to put that little performance together. So.
I'm really impressed. What are you doing at home? How does she know Mandarin?
What are you feeding these kids?
I'm very fortunate to be able to have a lot of help to be able to support me